Hey everyone, happy college football. Welcome to Porcelain Picks. I'm your host, Andrew Fabian, and here we find ourselves National Championship Monday, the last pick show of this 2024 into 2025 college football season. Thanks for following along with us this season. We at Porcelain Picks have been focused on delivering the locks you need as you scroll atop the porcelain throne all season long. We come into championship game with a record of 143, 131, and 1, so still operating just slightly in the green when it comes to our picks on this season. We're going to get a couple more winners in here. I am going to sprinkle in a couple player props for you in addition to picking the spread and the over-under in this national championship game. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you leave a comment. Where do we go right? Where are we going to go wrong? National championship game. It's coming at you in a couple hours. All right, Notre Dame and Ohio State. Both of them got here through tight victories. Notre Dame defeating Penn State, my alma mater. Ohio State getting by on Texas. They won that game by 14, but it was closer than that. They had that fumble return touchdown at the end of the game. Who's going to win this game? Many critics of this game are telling you that Notre Dame has one path to victory, and they're probably right. They're also telling you Ohio State can get into a dogfight with Notre Dame with their defense and with their offensive line and still win a slugfest. So what's going to happen tonight? We've got an 8.5 point spread at the time of this recording. Ohio State is favored. Over-under has crept up a bit, so 45.5 right now. All right, which Ohio State team is going to show up? We saw Texas keep them at bay with that man coverage on the outside or zone coverage on Jeremiah Smith, holding him to one catch for 3 yards. Can Notre Dame's defense show up and hold Ohio State in check? Can the Buckeyes get the running game going with Travion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins up the gut against Notre Dame the same way Penn State did last week? All right, let's jump in. We've got Will Howard. He's been great so far in the college football playoff. He had big games against Tennessee. He had a big game against Texas last week, even though the stats weren't necessarily there to show it. And he also played really well in that matchup against Oregon. They can turn this into a track meet. Notre Dame's going to try to slow this game down and keep Ohio State's offense in check. Notre Dame will, they've said throughout this week in practice, they will try to play man defense on the outside against the Ohio State wide receivers. Jeremiah Smith was locked down by Texas last week, but you had Emeka Egbuka and Carnell Tate, two future NFL players on the outside. They ate last week. They got some yardage against Texas secondary. Notre Dame, obviously, their defense is riddled with future NFL players, especially on the defensive backside. This is the toughest defensive backfield Ohio State's going to go up against. So will Notre Dame be able to be opportunistic? Will they be able to turn over Will Howard? He's shown that he's been susceptible to turnovers. He's been turnover prone. He's thrown some picks this year that have been costly. But Ohio State has prevailed regardless with the weapons on the offensive side. When you look at the Notre Dame offense, you look at Riley Leonard. This guy is a gamer. He wills his team to victory. Last week against Penn State, it was tough to watch him pick up 4 and 5 yards on that last Notre Dame drive en route to that game-winning field goal for ND. You hear this guy talk. He's just a winner. He garners respect from his team. Freeman's got a great culture coming in on the Notre Dame side of the football. I think these guys want to win. They expect to win. And although they are the underdogs, and deservedly so, I think Notre Dame poses a big threat to Ohio State today if they can bring that opportunistic style of play into the battle here. So I think Jeremiah Love, so Notre Dame's star running back, he was banged up last week against Penn State, didn't really get going outside of that real 3-yard touchdown run where he was dragging guys all over the place. Looked like a beast there, trying to get into the end zone. His health is going to come up big in this game. If he's healthy, if he's looking like he can get his speed going, this is going to be a big factor for Notre Dame as they play an Ohio State team that can be susceptible to the run. I'm trying to look for matchups. I think Notre Dame is going to be able to throw the football on the outside as well. They don't have the weapons that Ohio State has at the wide receiver position, but I do think they're undervalued. They've been underutilized. I do think that that Riley Leonard's going to have to put the ball in the air. He did so very well last week against Penn State. It was one of his best performances of the season through the air. He threw for about 223 yards or so. I think he could have a similar performance hitting Faison or hitting Merriweather deep when he needs to play and catch up against Ohio State. Notre Dame does not want this to get into a track match, but Ohio State's defensive backs are not the strongest that Notre Dame will have faced so far this season. Penn State's secondary is a bit better than Ohio State's, but ultimately, I think this game is going to get back and forth. I think they'll be able to gain some yardage through the air. All right, so the picks in this game, with all of that said, I think Notre Dame, they look like the team of destiny. These guys continue to get turnovers when they need to. They continue to come up big. I think they're going to keep it close against Ohio State. The first half is going to be very close. Ohio State may pull away a bit, but I am going to take Notre Dame in the points here. I'm going to take plus 8.5. I think this can be a 27-20 type game, maybe a 31-24 type game. I think it goes higher scoring than people think. So take the over 45.5. Take Notre Dame plus 8.5. Lock them both. Flush them both, all right? National championship is going to be won by Ohio State, but it's going to be a close game that Notre Dame is in until the very end. Way different than the Manti Te'o Bowl when they got blown out by Alabama with Te'o's fake girlfriend, all right? So let's jump to some player props here. So what's going to happen in order for Notre Dame to stay close, in order for this score to go over? There's two players I want to center in on, three different bets that I'm going to call out here. So Riley Leonard, the over-under on his rush yards, 36.5. So you think, yeah, take the over. This guy's going to have to get it done on the ground. I don't think that's going to happen. I think under 36.5 for Riley Leonard. Just remember that sacks are taken into account when it comes to rushing yards for quarterbacks in college football. I think it's a terrible stat. It's terrible that sacks are taken into account in the rushing yard total, but that is the case. So I do see Ohio State getting 4 or 5 sacks this game and call it, 7-8 yards a sack. I like the under here, even if Riley Leonard has 50 gross yards in the positive. I think he's going to net it down, and it's going to be under 36.5. So take that one, lock it, flush it. And on the flip side, I also do like to thread the needle. I like the over on the rush attempts for Riley Leonard. I like over 14.5. Those sacks, again, count as a rush attempt. So I think 4 or 5 sacks, and then I think 9 or 10 designed runs for Riley Leonard, or those scrambles where he picks up 3 and 4 yards on the outside. I think both of these have a chance to hit. Don't parlay them. Just take those separately. Lock it, flush it on the Riley Leonard props. Last prop, Quinshon Judkins. He's my man. Picked this guy a lot last year when he was back with Ole Miss. Picked him again this year with Ohio State to a little bit of a mixed bag of results. But his over-under total receiving and rushing yardage is set at 69.5 right now. He hasn't been catching screens much out of the backfield this season, but he did have 3 catches for 22 yards last round against Texas. Look for him to get going a little bit throughout the air as Ohio State looks for different looks against this man defense. I like him to go over 69.5 total rushing and receiving yards. So lock that one, flush that one for Quinshon Judkins. All right. So thanks for sticking with us again this season. I'll have the Porcelain audit coming out a couple days from now after this game. We'll tell you where we went right, where we went wrong. But for me, for Joey Mack, for Jackie Jones, for PTC and the Locksmiths, anyone who's been with you on this show this season, thank you. Porcelain Picks, we deliver the locks you need as you scroll atop the porcelain throne. Enjoy the national championship and happy college football, everyone.